On this week's episode of The Smoke Break, we sit down with Kayla Evans and talk about thought errors and thinking patterns. We also ask ourselves the question, what advice would you tell your younger self? Check out The Smoke Break every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio and Pretty Dope Experience Radio.
Welcome to The Smoke Break. We are here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio. I am your host, your old pal, Zane, here with Amanda Lindeel.
Hi, friends.
And guest host this week, comedian Kayla Evans.
Hey, happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Happy to have you.
So far, it's pretty early.
Yeah. I was going to say, we're like 49 seconds in, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. That's a thinking error. You know? Just already looking at it like it could be negative, and that's something I'm very guilty of, is thinking errors.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they were things until I was just like, isn't this just how you think of stuff? Like, isn't this just how your brain processes?
And it's thinking errors, not thinking errors,
yes.
which is what I thought.
Very important.
Thinking error is also another word for thought trap or cognitive distortion.
Ooh,
beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, let's use those. Let's use those, because one sounds too much like another word. So thought traps. Very tricky. So there's multiple ways of looking at things, and I feel like you had kind of said earlier, just like we kind of develop some of these just as like survival mechanisms. You know, sometimes it's important to overgeneralize. Sometimes it's important to what else is on
Try
here?
to predict the future.
Try to predict the future. Try to mind read. You know, like what are they thinking? You know, so it's like it does make sense to a certain extent, but I feel like the problem lies when you're doing these things and they're not productive. They're almost counterproductive.
Yeah, our brains are going into overdrive when it comes to thought traps. Because, I feel like back in evolution, like old times, like we had to think of it constantly, because who knows what it was like to live back then? Just constant threats of animal attacks. And and that's fair. But yeah. It's important to be able to identify them and realize what it is. And we all do it.
Yes.
Everybody has thought traps or thinking errors.
Yes. Yeah.
And it probably is, like you said, like it serves a purpose to some extent to like protect you, but also it can kind of do the opposite. Instead of it being something that's helpful, it's more harmful, because you're expecting something negative. So even if it doesn't end up negative, you kind of already have this
this idea that it has, or finding a way for it to.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I had noticed on this list was overgeneralization, right? So it's basically taking like one experience and, you know, applying the idea that like, oh, because this one situation was bad, all situations similar to that, I guess, might be bad.
Yeah.
What is your experience with that? Do you find yourself doing that?
Yeah, actually pretty recently I was in Boise and did some shows with Sabrina, and it was super fun. And afterwards on Saturday, there was a late night open mic, and I was like, I do not want to sit through another open mic. I host 2 mics already. I don't really need to know what men think ever again. I'm being honest.
But they said it into a microphone. Come on, it's interesting.
No, thank you. So I don't need to be there for any of that. So I was just kind of like, no, I'm not here for that. And then they already signed us up. So me and Sabrina like went in there to check on the list, and it was packed. It was like an underbar open mic, and our show was more like an underbar show where like, you know, the audience was like half there.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow. And we went up and it was so much fun. Also just to like kind of have that like, it's less pressure. It's not like, you know, feature headliner, do all your best jokes. Don't mess it up, kid. You're in a new city. You want to do well. It was like, I'm just going to talk. And it was super fun. But I was like afterwards kind of had this like, I guess I shouldn't be like, all open mics suck, because I've also been to a lot of them, whether I'm hosting or not, that are really fun, and you meet new people, and not every dude who talks in a microphone is horrible, but I just was like so tired of listening. I really didn't want to listen anymore.
No, that's fair.
But then I had a lot of fun.
I imagine for as long as you've been doing comedy, it's easy to think that way, because I've been doing it 6 years and I still think that way about mics for sure, or some certain shows. And then sometimes, it surprises you. It's like, oh, that was actually kind of fun. Wow.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. You meet people that you wouldn't have if you just like, well, I did my show, bye. It's like, well, we're in a new city. We might as well try and meet some of the comics here. You know, there's certain like archetypes of people where you're like, that's funny.
Yeah.
They remind you so much.
We have one of you in my city.
Yeah. Serena and I were laughing a lot about that. But we both were so glad we stayed for the mic.
Honestly, every comedy scene's the same.
Yeah.
It has the same people. Like, we have a friend, Damiaco, he has got the flying squirrel. My last comedy scene in Nashville also had a guy with flying squirrel. Like it's just everywhere. There's
that's a very specific archetype.
It's very specific, but every comedy scene's got a flying squirrel guy.
There's one flying squirrel guy. It's inevitable.
That's amazing.
It's a good overgeneralization.
I showed Cam Strong a picture of the Cam Strong that we saw in Boise, and he was
Cam
like,
Week.
And he was like, "Nuh-uh," and I showed him the picture, and he's like, "What?" And then I kept showing people, and Cam was like, "Stop showing people that. I'll show you both after this. It looks exactly like him." And he's like, "Was he funnier than me?" I was like, "No, you're funnier and more handsome. Don't worry." He's like, "Thank God." I was like, "But you guys look exactly the same." So you realize
Lucas Kopp, he has the same laugh as one of my friends from Nashville, and it just reminds me of him every time.
Okay, so what about like overgeneralization with you? Do you find yourself doing it? What do you do to try to combat it?
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess my overgeneralization is I've been going to therapy, and you kind of always have that thought. It's like, ugh,
Sure,
it's gonna be rough. But I mean, it usually ends up being good, and even if it doesn't, it's like, oh well. Like, the way I see it,
my insurance covered
sometimes
this.
The way I see it too is like, you know what? I'm anxious about a lot of stuff. It doesn't really stop me from doing a lot. Just got to get through it. It'll be done soon.
Yeah,
Like I think one way, definitely to combat overgeneralization, especially if you're anticipating an event nearby, is think about, is that event going to matter to you in a week from now? Or a month from now? Or a year from now? And usually it doesn't.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to frame it. Because I feel like it's our belief that something is bigger than it is that that makes us build it up in our minds. It's like, so kind of just realistically looking at it like, okay, if I go to this party and it's weird, like, is that going to matter in a week? Is that going to matter in a month? Is that going to matter in a year?
Yeah, forget about that. Unless my Facebook memories remind me or something.
Yeah. My Facebook memories usually do remind me of pretty just, I'm like, oh God, that's...
But then a year later, you might be like, oh, that was fun, instead of like in the moment when you're like thinking about other stuff that was not relevant,
Yeah.
I mean, it's rare, but every now and again, you will be like, oh, yeah, if that goes bad, I'm going to be thinking about it for a while.
Yeah.
But that's kind of rare.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I feel like it's those situations where you do end up thinking about things for a while that like create the smaller situations where you're just like, oh, am I going to be thinking about this for forever?
I think kind of open mics have actually kind of helped with that because you go up all the time. You don't know how you're going to do. I mean, you get to a point where if you bomb, you kind of shrug it off.
Sure.
Like even if it doesn't go well.
You're like, well, it was a new thing. At least I tried. It's a good way to, have that perspective. I think that like time travel aspect of it, like you were saying, is pretty important. If something is like stressful, I just think about like eventually this will be done, and or like if you're excited for something, to not try and like only think about that, but be like, enjoy everything leading up to it. Before you know it, that thing will be here, or if you're dreading it, being like, well, the day after it's gonna come, and then I can reflect on, just kind of like try to
the rough events happen. Yeah, they always kind of tell you like one day you'll wake up and not think about this.
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And who knows how many days have to go by before.
Me thinking about it before I just wake up and I'm like, huh. So another one is emotional reasoning. And that is thinking that your thoughts are reality.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm very guilty of. I'm just like, I thought it, therefore that's the way it is. And it's like, that's a big jump.
That was a big realization for me. Oh gosh, I literally saw a TikTok, which I think mental health TikTok is very helpful to people.
Honestly, it's nice. Bite size.
But yeah, when somebody said, like a psychiatrist said, thoughts are not, or feelings are not always factual.
Yes.
Kind of thing. It's like, whoa, that's true. Just because you feel a way, that doesn't mean that's how it is.
Yeah, definitely.
You're feeling from your own experiences, so it's like that might not be the general like thing going on, but that can kind of be like, why did that make me feel that way? Maybe there's something there I need to look at.
Yeah, definitely.
Cause you to reflect.
Well, and I feel like with like just because I have this habit of just being like, I feel this way, so therefore it is, and there's so much of a disconnect between that and actual reality that it's like, I feel like you kind of have to, something that's helpful for me, I guess, is just kind of like bouncing my idea of what reality is off of other people and just being like, hey, is this happening? Like I feel uncomfortable. Am I actually, is the situation actually uncomfortable, or am I just uncomfortable because of this situation?
I think that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
At some point, your friends might get a little annoyed.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. Amanda looked at the camera and was just like, Zane, stop asking.
I burped away from the microphone. That's what I did.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna watch back, so I will know what happens. If there's not a burp, I thought it, therefore it's reality. Okay, Amanda, that's how this works.
Next time I'll burp at you. So you feel better.
please, we'll feel more. So we got a little bit more time. We'll go through a couple more. Let's see. I like personalization. So taking things personally or blaming yourself for things that weren't connected or caused by you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's a. Do you have any experience with that where you're just like, this is all my fault?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely I think that comes from childhood trauma of if people are arguing or not in a good mood, it's I'm going to make sure that people are okay. And I know that you've talked about that too with
Sure.
make sure that you're, make your mom laugh, or if you notice someone's hurting, it's you want to help.
Mhm.
So I've had friends who are, in a rough situation and I tried to help and they were not responsive to it. So then I'm oh, well, they're mad at me. I'm the reason they're upset. And then I take it really personally and then everything is just strange. And it's you don't know how to talk about it and you're kind of tiptoeing. And then to find out no, I just wasn't having a good day, had nothing to do with you. Next time, don't take it personally. And it's okay, well then you're gonna have to tell me to my face that you're mad at me because I'm gonna take that as reality.
Yeah,
and I will never take anything personally. But
when it is personal, you have to tell me.
You cannot do this passive aggressive. I'm mad at you, I'm not gonna say anything because I will listen and not do it. But I definitely if I'm trying to help people and they're pushing me away, it's hard not to take that personally. But it might just be it's not they're mad at me. They just are, they need their space and I need to leave them alone. It has nothing to do with me.
What about you?
I'm trying to think of a specific situation. I know personalization that could definitely be used with kids of divorce, which I don't think so. I knew my parents were getting divorced. It wasn't just me.
It is not me. I had very little to do with that.
No, just a one common denominator. Just happened to be the only thing connecting them together. Let me think. Personalization. Thing comes off the top of my head, but
this is all my fault. I asked this question.
I know, but I know what you mean. I mean,
I feel
with traumatic events, especially I think in childhood, it is kind of common to feel that because you're not emotionally developed yet. You're oh, everything's going to shit. It's because of me. Or I don't know.
I feel it's something that I do because I guess it gives me a sense of control where I'm just oh, this could have been prevented / helped / whatever by me, so that way it's it gives me some sense of oh, I had a play in this. But in reality, there's a lot of situations where you just
that's a lot of pressure, Zane.
Yeah. Just assume everything's your fault and that you could be fixing
kind
it.
of an extreme version of that where if you don't do certain where you don't act on compulsions and obsessions, that you're the cause of something.
Yeah.
I think we all have some thoughts.
Yikes.
I think we all have thoughts like that to some degree. Not necessarily full-blown obsessive compulsive disorder, but we definitely all have compulsions and obsessions.
Yeah, definitely. And
I definitely thought if I was in a better mood, then the situation could have gone better because I was not receptive, or you know what I mean? I was tired,
definitely.
I was angry, so it's my fault.
I went to a party last night and it did kind of and I'm just not. Amanda knows I'm not big into parties. I get very anxious and I'm just fuck, I'm stuck here. And then everyone was freestyling and I was just I don't want to do it. So then I just kept thinking that people weren't having fun freestyling or felt uncomfortable because there was somebody there who wasn't doing the thing that claims to do the thing. And it was just I just started circling in my head where I'm this is all my fault. This is, and it's that's just way too much pressure to put on yourself.
That makes me think of hosting comedy shows because host is a rough position.
Oh, absolutely.
And some people maybe don't do the best job, but otherwise, when you're a host, you feel the entire audience hates you.
Yeah.
They just, because you're the one in between people. They're probably chit-chatting, not paying as much attention to you.
If they didn't pay attention to this comic, it's because I didn't bring them up right.
Or if you handle something that doesn't go well, then you're how do I fix the energy? And if the audience is already mad at you for telling people to be quiet, then you're ooh, I don't know. There's definitely weird.
Yeah.
You kind of control the energy of the room as a host.
Even if a show goes well and you just feel people were I don't know, talking over you when you were trying to talk, you still feel weird about the show, even if it went well.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone I meet
If things go well, I think it's because of other people. I'm like, I do the exact opposite.
Really?
If things are going wrong, I think it's all my fault. And if things are going well, I'm like, oh, it's because they did it, or it's because
things are going wrong because I wasn't on that show. No,
yeah, exactly.
I'm kidding.
All right,
but no, as a host, that's a rough position to be in for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. So we're going to take a real quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with the Smoke Break. We're here on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio, every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m.
Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. Come explore the spaces between friends. DJ 1017 takes you into a universe unlike any other. From Pink Floyd to the Flaming Lips and anything else interstellar. The spaces between friends with DJ 1017. Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Come explore with us here on Shady Pines Radio.
Welcome back to the Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Amanda Lynn Deal.
Hi, friends.
And Kayla Evans.
Hey.
So we're talking about thinking errors. There's a lot of them. There's
thinking
a lot.
in the air.
Thought traps. What did we call it?
Yeah, thought traps, cognitive distortions.
Beautiful.
All
Yes.
the same thing.
All the same thing. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is blaming and denying. I feel like that one's super toxic because
That feels like a projecting a little bit too.
yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like if you're not taking responsibility for your actions, then like you're putting the blame on everybody else for whatever you may have done, you know, and like that doesn't allow you to grow from a scenario because you think other people need to grow.
Mm-hmm. It's like everyone else's fault. So you're like blaming them and then denying that you have any part in it. Yeah. It's like, there's the common denominator here. I've had to do that a few times where it's like, all my relationships are this. It's like, well, who's in every one of those relationships, sweetie? Not me. Well,
I don't think I've gotten to that part of therapy yet, to be honest. We're getting there.
Yeah. That's the spicy part.
The spicy part.
Use your heartburn. Yeah. It was me. The call was coming from inside the house.
Calls coming from inside the house.
I'm not texting me back.
What about you, Kayla? Do you have any experience with this? Like either you are blaming or denying, or you've had other people blame and deny, and like how's that kind of made you feel?
Ooh. Let's see. I guess with blaming and denying, I definitely had that done to me for sure.
Sure.
But to other people, I think when I was younger, I did that more for sure. Like as a teenager. Like I was very introverted and quiet, and sometimes my friends, like, I don't know, I feel like they didn't want to be around me. Sure. But then at one point they were like, Kayla, you don't ask us to hang out either.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I like that one.
Like that's whatever.
Yeah,
right.
Details, whatever. No, I think that's a really good one because that's something that like I catch myself doing a lot where I'm just like, you know, it's like, oh, nobody wants to hang out. And it's just like, or like nobody calls me, and it's just like, have you called anybody?
Right.
You know, like, that's I appreciate that one.
What about you?
Me blaming and denying. Let's see. Blaming and denying. I blame myself for everything. So I mean, self-blaming is probably just as fucking toxic. So, but
you mentioned that before about how you blame yourself if it goes wrong and you praise other people if it goes right.
So
blaming yourself and denying that you're also a part of something.
It's a part of something good. Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I definitely think, you know, because that's the first place that I look when something goes wrong is I'm like, this is all my fault. You know?
I think most healthy people do in a way.
They should. I think that it's a good place to start but it's a place to build from. You know, like seeing your part in a situation is important, but only seeing your part in a situation means that like you're not setting boundaries. You know, because then you're not expecting people to do differently. You're just expecting yourself to react differently to the same stuff.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a place in growth for me because at least the last few years I noticed sometimes if a conversation doesn't go right, I think of myself first, but then I'm like, No,
They were weird.
I didn't say anything
Yeah.
too off.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know sometimes my tone can sound more aggressive if I feel more Chicago that day.
Mhm.
But I mean,
Same.
I've literally had that people say that. It's like, oh, you sound aggressive. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But
It's just not sugarcoating, I guess.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, as comedians too, you're always self-reflecting.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Should
yeah.
be.
You should be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, no, that wasn't me this time.
yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely. I think that's a
Or
really good
maybe
one.
It was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just as valuable.
Yeah.
And It's healthy to be able to like, if you are gonna, be like, okay, I have a part in this. It's like, what are you gonna do about it though? Because I think there's also something toxic about like blaming yourself over and over again, but not doing anything differently.
Mhm.
Like, people
Yeah.
beat themselves up constantly. It's like, well, if you feel like things are weird and it's all your fault, are you doing anything about that, or are
Sure.
you just constantly like in that
Just
loop?
be like,
of,
things
like,
are weird.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, yeah, I think it's a place to build from. But yeah, I think the opposite, where you're just like finding fault with everybody else, like that's
really annoying.
way more toxic.
I've been accused
Yeah.
to someone that, like accusing me of something that they're literally doing, and I'm just like, this is
Yeah.
wild, because you
They're
can't
like,
get
you're
upset.
gaslighting right now.
Yeah,
And you're
because you can't get upset, because then they're like, I told you this is
Yeah.
what you do, and you're
Has
like,
anyone
"Whoa."
dated men before?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Women do it too. Has anyone dated before?
Oh my god, that's funny. Yep.
Oh my god, too funny. All right, so the next one is all or nothing thinking.
Oh yeah, black or
That's
white
a
thinking.
bad one. That's a
Yeah.
bad one.
I used to see that a lot with patients at work. A lot
Yeah.
of people have the all or nothing thinking.
It's either all going well or it's all shit.
Yeah, like the treatments, they would think, yeah, either this is going to be great or it's not going to work at all. It's like there's a lot of middle ground.
Yeah.
It can work a
definitely.
little bit, but not get you completely there.
Yeah, or
or
it can work for a while, but then maybe not later.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely black and white thinking is definitely a dangerous one.
Yeah.
I find myself like thinking in extremes of just like I need to be doing everything or I should be doing nothing, and it's just like there's some middle ground. There's you can do something but not everything.
Right.
Like you don't have to pick nothing as opposed to doing everything. And I think that I catch myself quite often just being like, burn it all down, and it's just like, well, I mean, burn part of it down.
Yeah.
Just burn
Yeah.
some of it.
I know when it comes
it's
to
like a controlled burn.
Yeah, there you go.
I know when it comes to work, I'm very to the book with stuff.
Mm.
So sometimes when people veer off, it takes all in me to be like, no.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, like there's a lot of middle ground.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the chat, we need help 50/50 yellow antifreeze for our 2006 Mazda. MPV, please?
Are you okay?
Yeah, for real. Is that all or nothing thinking? Is that, I'm not sure what your input is, but I appreciate you dropping into the chat. Thank you. So all or nothing. Amanda, did you ever catch yourself all or nothing in?
All or nothing in. I try not to do that. I mean, there's times in like, I guess when I'm not in a good like mental health state where that's kind of where things go, but I try and kind of really just for my own sanity, be more like with the flow of stuff.
Mhm.
So not having expectations, because then, if it doesn't go how you want, then it sucks. And
Yeah,
then-
yeah, definitely.
So just kind of like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but that's okay.
Mhm.
I'm just going to do a thing, and then whatever happens is how it happens. So try
Yeah.
not to put so much pressure on one thing. Like, this is the most important thing I'll ever
Mhm.
do. And if it doesn't go well, it's like, that's really not maybe like right now it's important.
Sure.
But everything is a learning experience. So it's like, even if it doesn't go well or like how you wanted, you'll learn what to do differently, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and I think the black and white thinking kind of keeps you from seeing, the good in the middle ground,
Yeah.
because it's like you're used to seeing the bad if it's, black, or the good if it's white, but you're not used to like seeing like, okay, well, this was kind of weird, but like this worked out, and just being able to kind of like meet yourself at a place where you're like accepting the things that are good that are happening and not expecting bad things.
Yeah. When I think as comedians, it's like that we have like a skill of being able to turn.
I either bombed or killed the room.
Well, no, yeah, that's the black or white, all or nothing
Yeah.
thinking. But I think we all have a skill where like eventually get to a point where even if things don't go well, I'll probably get a joke out of it. Like there's a way that
Yeah.
you can
Right.
turn it into, into
And
comedy.
that's definitely like a good example.
So it's like
of-
it's not as scary, because even if it's not a good experience, it's like, how can I either learn from this or how can I make it funny?
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's also what I've learned from like open mic or shorter sets.
Mhm.
If you land on a good joke, people think you did well.
Mhm,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
The rest of it was a little rough.
Yeah,
It was
that's
a little
okay.
rough. Yeah.
That's why you get that good joke. You go, well, I'm done. You walk off stage.
Well, I guess I did my job today. Cool.
And then people will get addicted to that laugh and keep going for like the last minute when you're like, oh, sweetie, you could have just,
Yeah.
could have just
right
been
there. That
done.
was the good. Yeah, you just cut it off right
You don't
there.
have to do all the minutes.
You're allowed to have I mean, you shouldn't have any bad jokes, but it happens.
Yeah, whatever.
Sometimes
absolutely.
it does.
Or some fluff or something that you're like, well, that's not really
Well,
necessary.
that didn't land. Oops.
Yeah. I tried that out. It did not work.
But that's the lesson there. So you're like, well, I'm not
You
going
have
do
to
that
learn
again.
how to bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a comedian,
Oh,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely. You know, my
'Cause-
favorite comedians look like they're having more fun bombing than I've ever had killing. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
like Simon Gibson, like that dude. It doesn't matter how well he's doing. That dude is having fun.
And
it's
at the end, he always says, "This is the best I've ever done." So when he does really well, it's like it's funny. But when the only comedians are laughing because he's doing wild shit, and he goes, "This is the best I've ever done." That is the funniest thing in the world.
Oh, that's super good. So the next thinking area that I wanted to talk about is mind reading.
Okay.
I know what you're thinking because I know my thoughts, so I assume that your thoughts are my thoughts.
It's basically it's your mind.
me deciding how people feel.
Yeah.
The end.
It's definitely hard to do that with people or hard not to do that with people you're around a lot too.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I think I know you.
Yeah.
But-
Or I think I know what you're thinking because
Yeah.
I know you or know of you. Yeah, definitely. So do you ever catch yourself trying to mind read, trying to do some tarot?
I mean, people's faces will kind of be expressive, and sometimes they'll kind of, you can tell when someone's like enjoying something or not just based on their face. And like you said, like if you spend a lot of time with someone, you're like, oh, I know what's going on around here. But it's also good not to assume. You might be like, okay, I think this person is uncomfortable, and then you can ask them, be like, hey, are you good? Instead of just being like, oh, you were uncomfortable, so we left. And they're like, actually, I wasn't uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah, I was having such a good time. I left.
Yeah.
I was like, this is as good as it gets. I'm leaving.
I guess it's like you can have, that closeness with someone and maybe like get an idea of what's going on, but to never really assume you know what's going on.
Yeah, well, I think clarifying is probably going to be the key
Communication
there.
could fix a lot of these things. that
Oh
we're talking
yeah,
about.
I mean, this is also the thing with like parents too, because I remember when I was telling my mother I was moving to Portland, I was kind of just mind reading how that might go. Like, oh, she's not gonna like this because I'm moving across the country, but she was actually surprisingly supportive.
Yeah, you never really know. Sometimes people surprise you no matter how well you know them. You're like, wow, okay, just kidding. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I catch myself just like assuming that I know what people think, and then it goes into that my thoughts are reality. So it's like clarifying and just being like, hey, where are we at? How are we feeling? Like I'm interpreting this feeling. Is this how you're feeling, or is this my interpretation? I think that really goes a long ways to just finding what the reality is and not just the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be some like good tactics for that, like other than clarifying?
Let me think.
Like maybe challenging some of those thoughts and just being like, I don't know what people think. I'm not a psychic.
Yeah. Challenging thoughts is a good one. Yeah, like you said, communication's a big deal. I mean, those are definitely the big things.
Probably the two.
I guess sometimes, well, it's interesting because I always kind of say the opposite because we're always so hard on ourselves. What I would tell patients is think of if you were in your friend's shoes.
Yeah,
How
definitely.
would they really actually be this upset with you, or would they give you grace?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the best things that was ever really said to me was just like, I was like, talking shit about myself. And I was like, oh, Zane, this guy sucks, And somebody was just like, don't talk about my friend Zane like that. And I was like, fucking blew my mind. I was like,
Elizabeth.
What? Yeah.
My best
And I
friend
was
says
just
stuff like that. It's really sweet. It's true.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's like when you think about the way that don't talk about my friend like that. Shout out to Ansh in the chat. But yeah, it's really just, thinking about the way that you're thinking and just being like, would I treat somebody else like this? Like the way that I'm treating myself, would I treat somebody else like this? It's like, God, no.
If my friend said what I was saying,
yeah, would I hang out with him? Damn, that bitch would not be my friend.
Sometimes trying to put ourselves in other people's shoes and getting out of our own space for a second, that can be helpful.
Definitely. All right, and then the last one on the last minute is labeling. Labeling. All right, let me find a getting a label maker. Assigning labels to yourself or others.
Yeah, this is a pretty harsh form of cognitive distortions because like if they do something wrong or they have a certain tone, they're a jerk or they're an awful person.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's
jumping to a conclusion
to the extreme.
Yeah, to the extreme. And
people can surprise you. It's very easy to do that, especially like if you do something for a long period of time to just kind of stereotype. And it's like I always try and like
they're an alcoholic. It's just like they had a problem with alcohol would probably be a better way to frame it.
Or they're going through a tough time and right now they're like self-medicating and I've done that 1,000 times. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a very tiny example of it. But even when I met my best friend in middle school, like we were in gym class and she just had like a mean look on her face, so I thought she was mean. But she was just really into gym class. And
she was like, focus
very
and she was a real goofball. And
yeah. That's kind of like the danger with labeling is that like once you've already decided that somebody is something or is a certain way, it doesn't allow you to see them in any other way other than the way that you've labeled them.
You have to like remind yourself that they're a human too, and you don't really know them, and then like give them another chance.
yeah, absolutely. Cool. So we are going to take a real quick commercial break, and we will be right back with the smoke break. We are here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio.
Patches, come here, boy. I love Patches, and that's why I love Patch Dog.
Hey, Dad, were you calling me?
No, I was calling the dog Patches.
Yes, Father?
Oh, not you, honey. Patch Dog makes custom iron-on embroidery patches. I can give them my design, and in a couple weeks, I've got custom patches. They can be of my daughter Patches, my son Patches Jr., or even my dog Patches.
Yes, dear.
No, that's Patches, my wife. I'm just making a commercial. And because Patch Dog loves you so much, use the code SPR10 for a 10% discount.
Yay.
And you know they've got that free domestic shipping. For more information, check out patch.dog and fall in love with patches like me.
Did you
Yes,
call me?
dear.
No, I'm making a commercial for Patch Dog. Patch Dog.
And we are back with a smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio. I'm your host, your old pal Zane, here with Amanda Lynn Deal.
Hi, friends.
And Kayla Evans.
hey.
Yo. I just want to acknowledge the chat. Somebody said, seeing people as conditioned beings is seeing them as essentially blameless, and it forces us to be the change that we wish to see. Love you and love the show.
Well,
thank you so much, Rebecca. Appreciate that. So we are going to go to our next portion of the show called the joke break. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not, just like jokes. On this week, we are going to, oh man, this is, okay. I feel like we've already asked this one.
Have we?
Yeah. It says you've got, let's grab another one. Amanda, go ahead and run over there. She's just like, yo, I just got this mic adjusted so that way I don't talk into it incorrectly. But it's the question is, it's nice. Just go ahead and just grab another one. Number 2. No, off the other side. Yep,
So
there you
much
go.
anticipation with this question.
Yep, keep grabbing. Oh my God, they're all the same one. There we go. Grab it. There. Squirrel, send it over. This week's question is, if you were more organized, what would... No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so...
Oh, gosh. I nearly had a panic attack just now.
I'm not... So this is... Man, I can't wait to watch a clip of you just like Catherine Zeta-Jonesing through the lasers.
Hell yeah. Entrapment, bitch.
Okay, so...
Great film.
What advice would you tell your younger self?
Oh, man.
Woo.
Oof. I know for me personally, confidence has always been a big thing. And I think in the last year I've moved to Portland, I've gained a lot of confidence.
Sure.
For sure. I think I would just tell my younger self to just try a little more because I was always very introverted.
Yeah.
It took me
Kinda
a lot
scared to
longer.
try.
Yeah. I had social anxiety for a long time and I don't know. It just took me a long time to talk to people about it and actually actively do something about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I look back and I'm like, man, I wonder what my life could have been if I had been a little more brave or had put myself out there a bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's a hard one to yeah, I don't even know what I would tell my younger self.
That's a big one too. Just like that fear, that insecurity.
But I guess I would also say like life gets better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I like being an adult for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, the bills kind of suck, but
I'll just be like, yo, pay your bills.
Yeah.
That would be my morning to me.
I would say stop paying your bills sooner. No.
Stop paying your bills sooner.
Quit stressing about that.
You're taking life so
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly.
You're giving this money to those people for.
Yeah, for real. I think confidence is a big one, and it's one that we always kind of wish that we had sooner, because you know, like once you have it, you're like, why didn't I have this the whole time? You know,
unstoppable.
Yeah.
But you probably only really like earn it and learn it from not having it, probably.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
absolutely.
It takes time, experiences.
It takes the lack of it to make you appreciate having it.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like.
how it goes.
Yeah.
That's the way she goes.
That's where she goes. That's where she goes. What about little Amanda? What are you telling?
Aw,
little Manders. What are you telling her?
I'd pinch your little cheeks. I'd say, keep being silly. Stop being an adult. No. Well, I don't know. I guess just keep being silly and like it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about you. You know, like your opinion of yourself is the most important. So don't let other people's opinions kind of shape who you are or how you feel. Because I feel like when I first started stand up, there was a lot of like, I bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and then just kind of let a lot of negativity from people who are just burned out or just like shitty dudes like get to me. So when I came to Portland, it was like a lot of unlearning and also like being surprised that people like listened to me and respected me.
Sure.
So it's like, fuck, I wish that either I didn't let that get to me or I kind of like explored more options while I was there. Cause I definitely got in some like dark depression and like self-doubt that I don't think was really necessary. But again, maybe it was to like actually have confidence and see the dark side of something, to be like, I don't want to. At some point in
comedy, we all kind of put ourselves in a box.
Yeah.
Because I remember my first year, like within a year, I had heard everybody say, maybe this was because it was in the South, like you got to write clean material to get booked on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to write a voice that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
And the audience can tell.
Mm-hmm. Totally. You got to be true to yourself because that's what people want, is that like honesty and authenticity and stuff.
I just bomb for you.
Yeah. You're like, this is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being yourself is like, it's so simple, but it really is like, that's what makes us our most beautiful self. Is
Yeah,
who we
absolutely.
Are,
yeah.
you know?
It's like just allowing yourself to be authentic and kind of like unchanged by just the other's perception.
People are always going to be like, you're not what I think you should be. Change. And it's like, gross. Well, then I guess we're not cool. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty universal thing. If you go to a new job, if you go to a new place, like somebody's going on a date. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be an expectation that you're going to be a certain person. And then when you fall short of that, you can either be like, I'm complete as I am, or I need to be the person they want me to be.
Yeah, and that's not going to be satisfying.
It's not?
In the long run, being who you
not being who people want you to be.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't. I'm learning. That's what I'm here. I'm here to learn.
Being what other people want you to be is not going to be satisfying for you. Maybe for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But so they'll be happy. So they'll be happy. Is this people pleasing? I'm not even really sure what's happening right now.
Fucking with me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't. Okay.
So you think I shouldn't change who I am entirely so the other people?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
being yourself is a great people filter. You know, that's how you know who fucks with you and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Not everyone's gonna like you. That's fine. That means you're like an individual.
Yeah. But the people who do like you probably love you.
Exactly.
You know? The people who do appreciate you definitely appreciate you a little bit more because you are authentic.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're not like those hoes that don't like you.
And you're not like those hoes that don't like you.
Hose is universal. By the way.
You can quote Amanda Lynn Deal on that. Or getting t-shirts.
Fuck these hoes.
So fuck these hoes. It's on the back of this jacket. So let's see. What did I tell my younger self? Little Zane. With his
little baby afro.
Little baby afro. I know. Well, I just like the idea of like a younger Zane because it is a more innocent Zane that like I have to like talk to literally like he's a child. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And just like have that compassion to just be like, hey, the next 20 years are going to be fucking crazy. You know, there's going to be some highs, there's going to be some lows, there's going to be, some
bipolar.
twos, there's going to be some fro's. But what's important is, man, what would I tell myself? I guess I would say the thing that I'm still working on is stop people pleasing, dude. You're not too white because you like comic books. You're not too black because you have an afro. You're not like trying to fit into everybody else's box is something that like I've like just consistently just tried to do throughout my life, where I'm just like, what do I have to say or do to be liked by you?
Yeah, you don't have to
And
chameleon your way in social situations.
Yeah, for real.
Stand out and it's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely like a defense mechanism, because it's like, the alternative to being liked is being disliked, and that's not comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's like you find these ways to like, okay, well, if I say this, or I do this, or I don't do this, or I don't say this, or it's like you just end up like, not you, but me in my case, I end up just almost being unhappy with the way that I am, and I'm unhappy with the person I turned into, so it's like, I'm not happy with either. So it's like
that sucks. That's a rough spot to be in.
Oh, absolutely. Sure telling me. Amen to that.
Either way, you're just like, fuck.
Yeah. So in the chat, somebody said, I used to change my opinions to fit my friends' opinions a lot in high school, late teens, until I realized that if I'm worried that my friends won't like me if our opinions on things, i.e. Games shows or TV shows, then that's not who I should be friends with.
Yeah. You have to change who you are to be friends with them. They're not really your friends.
I very briefly, there was a guy I liked in middle school and high school. I think I briefly was interested in conservative political party just because he liked it.
Sure, yeah.
It didn't last long.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that in relationships too. I've been guilty of it. I get more, I'm like, either I was into it and I get even more because of them, or something I don't really care about. I'm like, well, it's a good conversation starter because they like it. And it's just like, or they could learn something about you if you bring that to the table. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think it comes with a certain amount of if I'm doing these things to work with you, I need you to meet me at the same place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm taking an interest in what you like, then I need you to take an interest in what I like. Otherwise, it's just this one side of me being like, so what does it take to please you, master? What must I do and say next to?
And if they don't do that for you, then they don't really have an interest in you as a person. And that's kind of like okay, well, I tried and you didn't give a fuck about me back, so I guess we're done here.
Yeah. And I feel like that one-sided people pleasing kind of creates and breeds resentment.
Then you hate them.
I do everything.
Yeah, I'm doing exactly.
You're not doing anything.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're like, I didn't ask you to do everything, and you're like, would have been nice if you asked me something.
Yeah.
That it would have confirmed as at least one of the things that I did or tried. Yeah, no, that's definitely is as far as talking to your younger self. What do you think is just kind of a self-talk thing that you try to do, because you can't really talk to your younger self and be like, yo, shit's gonna suck. So it's like,
it'd be cool if we could.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just send a message back to the past and be like, hey man, that stuff doesn't matter. Or hey, pay more attention to this.
Well, I've heard this thing too that's really inspiring, where it's be the person you wish that you had in your life when you were younger. So be that role model when you were a kid and maybe you were neglected or you had some traumatic things happen or you didn't know who you were, or you needed a mentor. Be that person now as an adult that you wish you had when you were a kid, because then you're kind of fulfilling that need, from that childhood trauma or whatever, and bringing that into your adult life. And you're also kind of you're kind of healing that part of you without actually being there and mentoring your little self, but you're healing that inner child by doing that as an adult.
Yeah, well, and also allowing yourself to be there for other people, in that capacity that you didn't have somebody, I think there's a lot of power in being the person that you felt you needed.
Yeah.
I know it's weird. This is somewhat unrelated, but also kind of related. I think a lot of people who get into mental health care and psychiatry kind of have similar thoughts like that. It's I want to help people. I don't want people to feel the way I did.
Yeah.
What do you think the pitfall is with that?
It's I guess you can help people in so many ways.
Yeah.
It does not have to be directly with therapy or giving people medication.
Yeah, absolutely.
You work with people in all sorts of jobs.
Absolutely. Well,
and it doesn't even have to be a job either. You can volunteer.
Sure. If the goal is to help, then there's multiple ways and avenues of helping. Yeah, definitely. I do Lyft, that's my main gig right now. And it's I always want to be a therapist, but it's I basically am for 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
People open up a lot.
This person hops in the car and they're just yo, I'm having a bad day. And I'm like, tell me about it, doggy.
A lot of people are therapists and don't realize they're going to do them.
Bartenders are...
Oh gosh. Outside of my job, which I've never been a certified therapist, but I was a mental health tech. So I would actively listen a lot. Yeah. But I always didn't like telling people what I did because some people would take advantage of that and think, oh, this is my free therapist until she can escape.
Yeah.
It's like, I just got off of work, man.
Yeah, for real.
That's
for
tricky.
real.
People do that when they don't really ask and they just kind of like spill all of their trauma. And you're like,
all their trauma.
I gotta go.
Well, it's, like I'd had to kind of like just reestablish my boundaries with that because, like there was a point where I was just like, oh man, you need anything, fucking reach out, reach out. And then everybody was reaching out and I'm just like, like the thing is like most days I could handle it, but like because I'm on a low, like you reaching out and being like, yo, everything's fucked. I'm just like, dude, I know. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
That was like working in mental health care during the pandemic.
Yeah. Where you're not doing well and they're just coming in just being like, this sucks. And you're like, tell me about it.
I wish
actually, please don't. Don't tell me about it.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
I wish people, instead of like unloading and going, sorry for unloading all that on you, I really wish people would ask. And there's such a consent behind like emotional like baggage, and I want to be the friend that can help you unpack what's going on. But if my hands are full and you give me a bunch of shit to carry, I'm gonna be mad at you. And I don't want to. But if like, hey, like, can I talk to you? Like,
hey, do you have space for this? That's one that I found is super helpful.
Something we can all do better.
Yeah, I think every human could learn that because I think we're used to like ask for forgiveness, not fucking.
And make that like something you don't even think about asking, because I feel like I could already tell drunk me would just start unloading.
Not really
and I've
too much about been the unloader on people.
Without
asking and then apologize, and later it's like, oh, I hate people do that to me.
So
we all kind of need to remind ourselves and each other.
Just check in and just be like, hey, do you have space for this? That's been super helpful for me.
Oh yeah,
just being like, just finding out before you just unload everything. Hey, like, are you in a place where you can deal with this, whether it's time constraints, whether it's emotionally, like, are you in a place where this is something that we can talk about?
Yeah.
So cool. We are going to take a real quick commercial break and we'll be right back with a smoke break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio.
We captured the taste and sound, only here on Open Country. Sundays, noon to 1 with your host, Anti-Vandal. Folk music with Anti-Vandal. We captured the taste and sound on this Open Country. Noon to 1, Sundays, with your host, Anti-Vandal. Here on Shady Pines Radio.
All right, welcome back to the Smoke Break. We're here every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. on Shady Pines Radio. I am your host, as well as Pretty Dope Experience Radio.
Talk so fast.
I am your host, Zane Thomas.
I'm Marina Lydio. Hi, friends.
Kayla Evans.
Hi.
At normal speed. I love it. All right, excellent. So my favorite part of the show, and just my favorite part of conversation with most people, is what are you excited for?
Ooh, you asked me this question earlier.
I gave you more than enough time.
You gave me plenty of time. Well, I'm excited. I've got like a show next month. I'm excited about.
Sure.
What's your show? Do you want to plug it?
Sure. It's the Transplants at Helium.
Nice.
So,
nice.
I'm excited about that.
That's a good one.
That's great.
And then I think pretty soon I'm going to plan a trip to Seattle.
Okay.
Because I haven't been yet.
Nice.
Sure.
And I've got like kind of an excuse to go.
Sure,
Perfect.
definitely.
I'm kind of good at, I like planning stuff. So that'll be fun. I just need to get some time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. So you're
What
going to
about y'all?
Seattle to do, thank you for asking. Most people don't ask. They're like, that's what I'm excited for. Thank you for listening to my day. Let's see. What am I excited for? I have a show tonight.
Oh,
and
nice.
I have a show tonight and I have a show tomorrow with you.
The abortion fundraiser that Emily June is doing.
Yep, that Emily June. She was here. Yeah, last week's episode. So that's when I found out about that show.
Awesome.
Was on the show. Yeah,
On our show?
Yeah. She's like, I got this show coming up. I was like, really? Tell me more about it. She's like, you're on it, and I'm like, cool, I'll make sure I'm free. Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to do that. I'll be doing some music tomorrow and some comedy tonight.
Cool.
Yeah. Haven't slung jokes in a minute, but we'll see if I still got it in me.
No,
And if it's something I still like doing.
Tonight I'm doing an interesting show called Groaners. So I have to tell like my worst jokes.
Yes.
Or at least groan-worthy jokes.
Exactly. If you need some puns, I got you.
That's a really fun show because honestly, like there's some stuff that like might actually be funny, but you're like, Mom.
Yeah.
You'll find some gems in there too.
The ones I'm like, the jokes I'm looking at, they're not even all bad jokes. They just were for the wrong audience.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And that making people groan is the worst. That is worse than not
Like
getting laughs.
Yeah.
Truly. Because they're just like, you ruined my day. Not like, oh, you're not funny. You're saying, ew, you just ruined my night.
Puns get a lot of groans.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love groans. That is the sound confirmation that like, ugh. Yeah, because it means that you didn't. Yeah, exactly. It means you didn't want to laugh, but you had to make some sort of sound.
Like, that you did a good job with that one, but I don't want to give it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's super funny. So yeah, I got those to look forward to. I was really looking forward to this episode with you because definitely. I got 2 shows. I have the smoke break today that I'm doing with you, and then tomorrow I have Lord Lawrence on my music show. So he's a really talented artist. I'd had him on the smoke break like Generation 1, like when we were still doing music. And he's just a super talented artist. I'm really excited to talk to him. I'm excited to get a good episode in on that.
Sweet.
And and then I signed up for college this last week. So
congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's weird because it did give me a lot of purpose because I was hitting a rut where I was just exhausted and like nothing. No matter what I did, it just felt fruitless, like I would try and write a joke and I'd be like, this is stupid. I'd try and write a song. I'm like, this is stupid. I would go to do my podcast. I'm like, this is stupid. And it was just like every single thing that like I've been doing that at some point has brought me happiness just didn't feel like it was. And I was like, I've got to do something else, or I can just sit in this and just keep talking about it. But nobody wants to listen to that. And so I was just like, you know what? I've always wanted to go to school for psychology. And it's something that's just been like a huge interest to me, clearly. But it's something, it's an area where I see like a lot of potential because it'll add validity to this show. It'll, add, content, for like stand up, just cause I'll know more about stuff and I'll know why we do it. And I'll know that like it's more common than I think and, all that other stuff. And as far as like writing music, like understanding emotions, and writing from that place, like there's more areas where I saw pros than I saw cons.
Psychology is so much fun to learn about.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me, I don't work in the field now, so I'm glad I didn't go to grad school, but I wish I did. Like, I wish it would have been free or something.
Sure.
Because it's actually really interesting to learn about.
Yeah. It was one of the first classes in school that I had really just like connected with, like I enjoyed writing, English and stuff like that. And social studies was really interesting and be like, oh, there's people that live in this area. Cool. But like just understanding why on like a fundamental basis of like, where our identities come from, where our thought patterns come from, where, trauma and healing that work that has to happen. Like there's just so much that happens because you're basically trying to understand the thing with the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how a brain works. I'm going to try and understand a brain with my brain. And
it's trippy. It's like thinking about your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell
I was on mushrooms and thinking about that. And it just went into a huge circle. I'm fine now. I'm frying right now.
Frying.
Yeah, I'm frying right now. But it's always been just a huge passion of mine. And I'm glad that I finally pulled the trigger to make it happen.
That's awesome. Nice. See if there's any syllabi already. Buy some books.
Yeah. Can I just have yours?
I'm trying to think. I don't think I have a lot of old psych textbooks, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Damn. It was
just
worth a shot.
the move.
Worth a shot.
Yeah, I got rid of most of them.
Amanda.
What am I excited for?
What are you excited for?
I'll try and talk about stuff that I haven't talked about before. But what I'm excited for currently, I've been doing like comedy classes on Wednesdays now. And that's been really cool because there's been like 2 people that are like have gone both weeks already. And then they're kind of rotating other 2 people have been comics that just kind of want to learn how to write jokes or come up with new material or turn stories into funny stuff. So it's been really cool to kind of use the like knowledge that I've had and also even the experiences from bad teachers that I've had to be like, I'm not going to do that. And just kind of get feedback and like learn as I do it. I don't know. It feels like really rewarding to be a teacher, but also like learn how to teach from people by what they need. Because I think we've all had teachers that don't really give a shit about what we want.
There's
what
the
we want
syllabus, and these are the things we're learning. And even if you know them already, we're still studying it.
And it's like boring and uninteresting. And you're like, why the fuck am I here? So people are going to like pay to be there. I want to make sure everyone, feels like heard and has fun and has their like needs met and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've just been like really grateful to kind of do that in the community. And
well, especially because you kind of came from a background of like wanting to be a teacher. You know? Like, and you're still working with kids, so I mean that's
I still babysit. You're talking about comedians. You smirked when you said it.
Pew pew.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something too that I think is like you don't have to. I don't know. There's so many ways to do wonderful things in the world that you don't have to do anything as like a specific
by a specific way.
Yeah,
definitely.
Same with like I don't want to pass on childhood trauma. I don't want to have kids, but I don't have to be
pass on comic trauma.
But I don't have to have children to be like someone who can like mentor other children or something like that too. So it's kind of fun to find different ways. It's like I don't want to work in a school, but it's cool if I can like teach people stuff that I like to learn about.
Yeah, definitely.
That's more fun.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of power in understanding that like just because you like to do something doesn't mean you have to go the standard route of doing that.
Yeah.
Like if what you enjoy is entertaining, then like maybe you don't necessarily have to do stand up. Like if you like entertaining, then doing anything entertaining is doing what you want to do.
Exactly. And comedy's so broad too. It's like there's 1,000 different ways. There's writing, there's sketches, there's improv, there's stand up, there's so many things you can do.
Yeah. That's kind of the same. It goes the same thing with like therapy where it's just like, being a therapist is one way of doing it, but like spending that time, like in a Lyft ride or whatever, or between your friends, or like just seeing a stranger and just being like, hey, like just checking in. Like there's ways to do these things without going the
very
standard.
direct route.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Definitely.
Even if it's just like taking a break from life to be silly. It's like I think that's valuable.
Yeah.
In whatever ways you do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So as far as the comedy classes, like what's something that like if somebody wanted to come to your class, what could they expect?
We usually open. I make sure we go in a circle and everyone says their name and what they're kind of looking for, their experience with comedy. And then I make sure we touch on all those things. And we usually just play some improv games to loosen up, and then we do some kind of writing prompts or either like different exercises to come up with material, or people have like, hey, I have this story that it's like really funny, but it's not stand up. Okay, well, tell us the story. And then we all kind of
out the parts.
Yeah,
and you're just like, okay, this part I don't need that.
Or
this
part
was really good.
When you tell a story and someone's like, I thought you were talking about this. It's like, perfect, use that, because there's someone in the audience who's like, who's like, I thought you meant this. So always address like what other things could have been thought,
Yeah, definitely.
And just like, just so you know, it's not this. And then that's super funny because there's probably people who thought that, or even if they didn't, they're like, oh, I could see how that could be confusing,
Yeah. Like what are like some teaching tactics that you kind of like picked up maybe from like another job that you're like, or from other teachers that you're like, okay, this is really effective when it comes to teaching people?
I think it's just important to listen as a teacher, because I think the worst teachers are the ones who don't really listen to students because they act like they know everything. And I think that's important in any aspect of life. Like once you feel like you've already learned everything and you're like, no one can teach me, it's like, well, then you're actually kind of the worst person.
You're right. You are correct. You cannot be taught. You've already decided that.
No one wants to fucking listen to you or hang out with you. I don't know. It's just like you also have to be willing to like listen and absorb. And even if you're like, I thought this for a very long time, but then you said that, and now I'm like, fuck, maybe I don't know what I'm that, maybe I don't know everything.
Definitely.
Cool. Now I will adjust based on that.
Yeah. What about outside of comedy? Do you have anything you're excited for?
Ooh.
I know. It's always a tricky question. It's always a tricky question.
No.
But our lives happen outside of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Something I'm excited to be done with is finding a new place to live.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're in the moving
in the process of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Once
definitely.
That's done, I'll be happy.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Excited for a new spot to be in too.
Yeah, I mean, the place I have now, I live on my own, but the rent's just a lot. So
it is a lot.
I'm looking for a roommate situation. Mm-hmm. And now I pet sit too. So I'm not even home that much, like if I'm house sitting. Mm-hmm. So it just makes sense.
For sure.
To have a
for
roommate, so that way,
Uh-huh.
you're splitting it. Totally.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
just cleaning. Oh my God. I can't tell you how much that stresses me out. Just keeping the place together
Mhm.
when you're on your own is a lot.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. When you can look at a mess and be like, "This is literally all my fault. Like,
Uh-huh.
nobody else has been here to
Or
create
just
this."
like someone has to clean all this and it's got to be me.
It's
I
gotta
don't
be
know when
me.
that's going to happen. I've got to make food
There's
for
no
the week
rotating-
and clean.
Yeah.
no rotating chores list with myself. All right,
Yeah.
this week I'll do it, and then next week I'll do it.
Tomorrow I have to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Place is getting kind of gross. No one can come over.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes having people come over is like that excuse to clean everything
for
really
sure.
quick.
That
I'll do
is.
that.
For sure.
It's amazing how quick cleaning is when people have to come over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So why didn't I do this before?
Just invite
This
people
doesn't take
over.
that long.
to your house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when I do this in a rush, I get it done really fast.
Just invite people over so I can clean my apartment real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Be over in 15 minutes? Okay, cool. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super dope. That's super dope. Well, yeah, no, I'm excited for you, and I hope you get that figured out soon. Because
Thank you.
I can tell that would probably bring a lot of just relief, just not having to worry about money and just all the other things that go along with having a good place to live. Cool. So that has been the smoke break.
Yeah, we
folks.
did it.
We
That
did
was
it.
fun.
We
It
did
was a
it.
great episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kayla.
Yeah,
Of course.
absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. You want to shout out the socials real quick?
Sure. Instagram, Kayla Evans Comedy. I think my TikTok's still Miss Kayla Evans.
Okay.
And I think that's really it.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. We'll check you out. Check out. You have some of your comedy clips up there so we can chuckle a
I
little
got
bit.
some reels. Mhm.
Nice.
Sweet. Good
Nice.
deal. Awesome. Yeah, we'll check that out. I've been your host, your old pal Zane, here with the Mandolin Deal.
Bye, friends.
Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week on the Smoke Break.